The Humble King. A tale. Once there was a king who had a wise man. The king spoke to the wise man, saying, "Just as there is a king whose signature declares that he is a man of great might, truth, and humility, in other words, a truthful person who does not focus on himself, mighty. I know he is a man of great might, for the sea flows around his country, and on the sea is stationed a navy on warships with cannons which prevent anyone from approaching. Inward from the sea, there is a great swamp, a place where one drowns surrounding the country, through which there is only one narrow path wide enough for a single person to pass. Cannons are positioned there as well, so that if anyone tries to attack, the cannons are fired, making it impossible to set foot there. But his claim to be a man of truth and humility, this I do not know, and I want you to bring me this king's portrait." For the king had portraits of all the kings, but the portrait of that king, who claims to be such, could not be found by any other king, for he is concealed from the people, sitting under a veil, far from his countrymen. The wise man went to that country. He realized that in order to understand the essence of the country, in other words, to understand how the country works, he must examine its jests. And how can he learn the essence of the country? By way of its jests. For there are many kinds of jesting. One may truly intend to harm another with words, and when the other takes notice, he might say, "I am joking." Thus, there are different types of jesting, some of which harm others even though they are intended as jokes. Now, among all the countries, there is one that encompasses all countries. That is, the country is the principle and rule for all countries. In that country, there is a city that includes all the cities of that country, which encompasses all countries. And within the city, there is a house that represents all the houses of the city, which embodies all the cities of the country. Within that house is a person who encompasses the entire house, and there is someone who makes all the wisecracks and jokes of the whole country. The wise man took a large amount of money with him and went there. He saw them making all kinds of jokes. From these jests, he understood that the country was filled with falsehood. He saw them mocking how people are cheated in business, how one goes to the lower court, where there are only lies and bribery, how one goes to the higher court, and there too it is all lies. The wise man understood from their jesting that the country was full of lies and deceit, lacking any truth whatsoever. So he engaged in some business there and allowed himself to be cheated in the exchange. Then he went and brought a lawsuit before the registrar's office, where everything was full of falsehood and bribery. He then went to a higher sand, and there too it was full of falsehood. Eventually, he came before the Senate, the highest court, and there too it was all falsehood and bribery. Finally, he came to the king himself. When he came before the king, he spoke and said, "Over whom are you king? The entire country is full of falsehood from beginning to end, and there is no truth here at all." He began to recount all the falsehoods of the country. When the king heard his words, he leaned his ear to the veil to listen, for it was a great wonder to him that there was a man who knew all the falsehoods of the country. The royal ministers, hearing the wise man's words, grew very angry, but he continued to report all the country's falsehoods. The wise man spoke up. "One might say that the king is like them, that he too enjoys falsehood as the country does. But on the contrary, one can see what a man of truth you are, and for this reason you keep your distance from them, because you cannot bear the falsehood of the country." And he began to praise the king very highly. Because the king was very humble, and in the place of his greatness there is his humility, for that is the way of a humble person. The more he is praised and exalted, the smaller and humbler he becomes. The king, hearing such high praise from the wise man, entered into deep humility, shrinking to the point of becoming absolutely nothing. He could no longer restrain himself and threw aside the veil to see who it was that knew and understood all of this. The king's face was revealed, and the wise man saw him. He depicted his portrait and brought it back to the king. Darki Tzion Avaloth / The paths of Zion are mournful. Lam. 1. 4. Since the temple has been destroyed, one is obligated to remember and mourn it, and unbridled joking and laughter are forbidden. V. SAOC 560. Also, there are no festivals or times when God can be seen. X 23:15, etc. Zion represents the markers of all countries, for they all gather there, as it is written, and see the bone of man, then shall he set up a sign by it. Es 39:15. This is the meaning of Chazei Tzion Kiriath Mohadenu, look upon Tizion, the city of our assemblies. Isa 33:20, the acronym of which is Metzachek, jesting, for that is where all the signs gathered, and whoever needed to know whether to do something or make a business transaction would know it there. May it be His will that it be rebuilt speedily in our days. Amen. Look, discern and gaze, reader, how far these matters reach. Fortunate is he who attends to and will come to understand even a little of the secrets of these stories, the likes of which have not been heard since ancient times. And know that all these verses and allusions following some of the stories are only hints, a scant disclosure of the subject matter, so that they might know Ki lo davar rekhu / it is no empty thing. God forbid. As was heard from his holy mouth, saying that he is revealing only a few mere hints from a few verses that hint at the secret of the stories, so as to show that he is not speaking, God forbid, empty words. But the essential secret of the stories is far beyond our understanding. Amok amok, mi yimtsenu / deep deep. Who can find it out? ECCL 724.